Hey there, this is John Chen, and it's now time for another episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. If you're watching live on any of our social media, please make sure to subscribe, share, like, or comment. If you want more episodes, make sure and go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online and subscribe to any one of the 13 favorite places you love to get podcasts. We release a new podcast every Wednesday. And if you haven't already got a ticket, get one for the Engaging Conference, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. 3 Hall of Fame speakers and the most engaging hybrid you should have ever seen. Speaking of engaging, I can't wait for you to introduce you to our next guest. He's a virtual event professional, entrepreneur, worked at Zoom, and is a Rotarian coming out of Santa Barbara. Let's welcome the one and only Joshua Jones.
Wow, John. Thank you.
Hi, Joshua. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
So much fanfare, right?
Yeah, the horns really do it for me.
Oh my gosh. So you're in San, well, no, wait a second. I heard you're actually in Solvang, which has a sister
That's
city
true.
up here in Seattle, which is Leavenworth.
Oh, really? I was not aware of this.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
I love learning.
Leavenworth was a town that was dying. It was a logging town.
Uh-huh.
And somebody had visited Solvang in California and they said, send a committee of people there. And so now there's like town regulations that you have to match the
Yeah,
style of Solvang right now in Leavenworth.
it's all
And they
about
have like,
facade.
right, they have one of the largest Oktoberfest. They have one of the largest,
Yeah,
Christmas lighting festivals, et cetera, et
people
cetera.
like it. It's a good stopover town. It's people walk around, they go to the shops, they go to the restaurants, they eat their round donuts called Able Skeevers, and they love life.
Why did you pick Solvang?
Convenience, really. I was in Santa Barbara in the area for a long time. I was born and raised there. I lived in Massachusetts when I was in high school, but was back in Santa Barbara, Goleta for a long time. And it's a good place to raise a kid. I've got a daughter. She's 14 now, and so I'll be here at least a few more years.
Well, congratulations on
Yeah,
all that.
thanks.
Now, did you actually go to UC Santa Barbara then? Are you a
I
gaucho?
didn't know. I was at City College for a bit. I would guess we were vaqueros.
Yes, SBCC, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
one of
well,
the best in the
fantastic. Well,
country.
so for the rest of my friends, Joshua, who don't know you, right? And
Yeah,
I'm so glad that Lux introduced us. Lux from, again, our good friends at streamalive.com.
great
Check
guy.
it out if you're looking for engagement. Joshua, who are you and what do you do?
Well, as you said, I'm a virtual events professional. I've been in the industry since 2007, working directly with customers. I started in support in a call center. I watched the call volume spike in 2008 during the financial collapse, and I watched it spike again when that volcano erupted in Iceland that time. Remember that? And anytime there's a big disruption to our lives, we see a big push toward virtual. And so I was lucky enough to become a trainer and event consultant. I started at Citrix Online, working for GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar. Later, as you said, I worked for Zoom for a while. I left there just before the pandemic started and started my first company, the WebiNerd. Been working that, grossed over 3 million in the 2 primary years of the pandemic with just a small team. So it was a wild ride, a lot of long days. Still working on the WebiNerd and working on EventSpace now, a virtual events platform designed more for a community experience in your virtual events and conferences.
Okay,
And
how
I'm
did the,
standing up,
and oh, yes, you're standing, yes,
one of your best
fantastic.
practices.
Uh, so Joshua, where did the idea for the WebiNerd come up? I'm just curious, like, what was
I
the
love a
genesis of
pun.
that company? What's that?
I just love a good pun, webinar nerd. I was a nerd for webinars. I'm really passionate with about the way people communicate their message.
Hmm.
So being able to help so many people reach a larger audience or more successfully reach their targeted audience has been a lot of joy for me. Helping people reach out is I don't know. I get good feels from it, especially when we get to work with some groups that are really good causes or really important services that are being provided. So with that passion around how people communicate, being able to help them and push them to do a little bit better has been very welcome. On the technical side of things, we don't always get to tell people what to say, but every once in a while I can, sculpt an event a little bit.
I'm starting to do speaker coaching, especially for
Yeah,
people on virtual. So that's one of the ways to sculpt what people say
right.
is in the coaching realm. Let's talk a little bit about your Zoom time too. So now, Joshua,
Sure.
I'd love to hear how did you get into Zoom and what's some, there's so many people, of course, that got on it in this last 4 years. I'd love
Yeah,
for you to share, one or two stories that you have
sure.
that you, of course, are okay to
It
share.
was early days. So in 2014, I had left Citrix at the time. I got laid off. And then I started the WebiNerd because I had some clients that didn't want to stop working with me. They didn't trust the rest of the team or whatever it was. This is years ago, so hopefully, no prosecutions. Um, but so I
Statutes
started the
of
webinar
limitation.
on a shoestring budget. And, a year and a half later, I was on Facebook. I saw my friend Kim that I had worked with at Citrix, and I just, added her, sent a message saying, "Hey, how's it going? How you been?" And she responded, "You have to come work for us." And that was that. And so she told me about Zoom, and I hadn't heard of it
Hmm.
before. I downloaded it, I fired it up, and the first thought that crossed my mind at the time, props to Zoom, was, oh, this is what they were all trying to do. I'd been in the industry for a while, worked with a number of different platforms and see how they, what
Yeah.
does better than this other one. And Zoom was just really simple and fast to load up, especially in those early days. So this is 2015. They recruited and hired me to run their training program, initiate their training program and their virtual event consulting program. So production support. So I got to run both of those programs initially. For a little while, I was, kind of felt like the face of the company doing like the mother load of the training sessions and everything. It was in training video. There's still a couple training videos that you can find on the support site that probably will never be updated because they'll
Wow.
never change. So yeah, I got to do a lot of stuff there, participate in, their conferences and so forth and present. So you can find me on YouTube and check out some of those going back some years.
Well, how can you characterize the culture? Like, the things that we only see are on the other side of the wall, which is like the
Hmm.
PR side. And so I'm just kind of curious, is like, so, and I'll help you out, right? I worked at Microsoft, right? I was
Yeah,
there for a decade. I shipped 10
spill the
products.
beans and then I'll
Yeah,
say what I want to
I
say.
got two US patents, and some parts of Microsoft are great, but some of them are very cutthroat, right? There's this
Hmm.
like, what happened to me once is that a manager kept saying that for me to do something, and I said, "That's great. What do you want me to cut to make sure that this can happen?" And he goes, "Well, you got to do all these other things. Those are all priority one." And then
Oh,
he
it's this and
gave,
that.
yeah, and then he gave the project to the pet person he had in his group, and they developed something, uh, and they like did it in a weekend, and so like you get blindsided. Right.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
when I went to go confront them all, number one, the thing he developed didn't actually do what it said it did.
Hmm.
And then I have to confront the manager and say, "Why'd you blindside me? Either tell me it's a priority or not, because I'll do it and I'll actually get it done." And so,
Hmm.
my favorite part of that story is that I spent the next 3 months shopping around for a job so I could tell him when I was leaving. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that's my Microsoft story. I don't know if you have a Zoom story like that.
I could pull up many, but overall you asked about the culture and it changed a lot while I was there. I mean,
Mm.
honestly, I was
Mm.
there, I was employee 227, I think. And
Wow.
when I left, there were edging on 3,000 employees,
Yeah.
approximately 4 years later, less than that.
Wow. Wow.
So the growth was insane. It was, exciting for a long time. And then, when excitement doesn't wane, it can turn into burnout. And so,
Right.
I ended up leaving Zoom in a much different place than getting there, of course. And that's, in all of our careers, that's kind of how it goes sometimes. But
Hmm.
I'd say initially the culture that Eric Yuan, who I've gotten to talk to and work with directly in a couple capacities, and the vast majority of his team early on were just completely dedicated to the product and the customers,
Yeah.
and it really showed.
Yeah.
And I think, after some years later, we had a really big sales culture. And I'd say one of the challenging things
Mhm.
dealing with sales culture from a service provider perspective is they're selling my time. There's only so much of me and only so much of my time. And the price isn't going to fluctuate. It doesn't, follow supply and demand. So I've often found myself working really crazy hours
Ooh.
and trying to communicate to management like, hey, check out my calendar every once in a while, just be aware. I'm not making it to that meeting and I have a reason.
Right.
So, you know, it was really fast paced, and staying fast paced for a long time can be challenging, but I think overall they've done a good job. When I did leave, I think it gave them a little kick in the rear. They expanded the team that I had been leading to that point and put a lot of bodies on it just in time for the pandemic, or maybe a little late.
Yeah, and that's I guess there's only a little bit of satisfaction in saying like you had to have like 3 to 8 people to replace you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they kind of did, I'm sure.
and you-
But
yeah,
you know, like I said, it was exciting seeing something grow like that, being a part of something
yeah,
that we really knew was going to be the new big thing in virtual video conferencing, which nobody was paying attention to then. But we knew we were the right one. We were going to take out WebEx, we were going to take out
yeah,
GoToMeeting, you know, so there was a lot of zeal for the projects and, you know, getting out there and introducing people to the product. People were excited about it. New
yeah.
people found it much easier to use. So yeah, it was a fun culture to be in until, you know, things get tiring.
Yeah, until it's not. Yeah, here's
Yeah.
my Zoom story, Joshua, is that I Skype, right? Because I got a Microsoft background, so Skype was really good for a long time, and then of course Microsoft
Yeah,
bought it,
when it
and
was
then it
first.
started, yeah, it started going downhill, and it got to the point where it was unusable. So
Hmm.
I was asking around with a bunch of my friends, going, what video platforms are you using? And I think this is 2014, maybe 2015. And one
Hmm.
of my friends' college had evaluated like 18 different
That
platforms,
was their
and
first foothold. They got in at Stanford.
yeah. And they decided that yeah, I remember there were some pieces there where Zoom was really making great strides in the academic markets, for the set of features that they had. And so I
It was
just
smart
think,
marketing too, you know, good place to go in. If you get people at Stanford used to your product, where's it going to
yes.
go?
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of like Apple's educational program a long time ago. Remember that, where they give like discounted products for Apple and then they come out of college, them always being a Mac person, right? So
Hmm, yeah.
Yeah,
User
so
for life.
that's once I crossed over in 2015, based on that research, and we were actually using it like even in a 6 to 8 person company,
Hmm.
like avoiding Seattle's traffic was like genius,
Yeah.
right? That's a
I've
high
met with
value
people
point.
across the office many times when I was in an office.
Yeah.
You know, we could have
Yeah,
both gotten up and met in the middle.
well, that's like Microsoft at early days of email was emailing the person next door to you,
Little
right? That
chuckle.
that was the precursor to it, right? But obviously you can get so much more done on video and audio.
Yeah.
And then so when the pandemic hit, of course, that means I already had 5 years of experience of we were using more features than most people were too, right? The high-end
Hmm.
screen sharing, a lot of these other types of things, and then now I think that's really key. So what has to happen for you now, Joshua? Like you help people produce webinars, you've been on the
Right.
backside of the product. What
Hmm.
are some of the most important factors, or and you can even share like what's the best virtual meeting that you've been to in the last 4 years? And I'm just curious to see what had to happen during that time.
Oh gosh, there's been so many. Um,
I just give you all the easy toss-up questions, Joshua. That's all right.
you know, well, let's go back to the beginning. So you were asking kind of like what I find engaging in a
Yeah.
meeting, basically.
Yes.
It really has to bring a story. There
Mm.
has to be something that I can connect with and feel some emotion about. Some emotion about. You know, it's better if it's, you know, a warm and fuzzy feeling and like maybe get a little teary-eyed at the end when everybody's saying goodbye and thank you. You know, but I'm a sucker for a really touching event, you know, where people take it seriously, share a good story, and bring it home well. And it takes a lot of planning to do that. You know, it starts early on, you know, our content's about this, where's the story in that content? This is the story we're going to tell through our promotions and so forth. Been talking about this a lot lately, if it sounds rehearsed. Um, and having that story that unifies your content, your delivery, your interaction with your participants really helps to make that connection and make people feel more involved in what you're doing. And
Do you
it
have an
doesn't have to be
example?
glitzy and glamoury, it can be, through some slides that are properly made and interaction through the chat. You know, chat is our mainstay tool at this point, and people may think like, oh, chat is hard to watch. Like, it's okay, you don't have to pull in all of it if it's busy. Grab what's important to you, have somebody helping you highlight what's important to you if you need to, if you've got that larger audience, but really keeping things active in chat so that you can hear the audience or feel the audience reacting through your eyeballs. So keeping active in chat, involving people in the presentation, talking about what they're talking about and exploring their interests, and using, frequent and varied interaction is always the best practice I've been telling people about for, I don't know how long ago I got that, but frequent and varied. So frequently enough, 2 to 5 minutes, you should do something interactive if you really want to keep them engaged and keep them
Yes.
like leaning into their screens, 2 to 5 minutes at least. And it's not a polling question every time. It's not a type this in chat every time. It's not a
Thank
quick
goodness.
quiz, and sometimes it's just, asking a question and giving them time to think. Silence is beautiful sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, I think the silence is really a key aspect that people, I don't know why, they get on virtual and they're presenting and they think they got to take all the air.
Yeah.
Why? I'm not sure that well-placed silence
Mm-hmm.
can have such an impact, and the attendees, especially people of different styles, need that time to like process what you're saying, and some speakers forget that and they just keep going on. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, and that's what engagement's all about. It's about taking a break from this deluge of information I'm
Yeah.
giving you. Let me reset your brain. It's just going to take 30 seconds. We'll pay attention to something else. And now, hey, I've got this other really important thing I need to tell you about. Listen to me for 2 minutes.
Well, I hope you appreciate. I got these slides that I used. I was in Marty Dickinson's Speaker Speak Live, and I gave a 10-minute presentation. I won't show you the whole thing, but I did want to show you. These are some new slides because you said storyline, and I thought
Mhm.
storyline. Yeah, that was something I got a compliment on today. And the whole piece here, the storyline was, I want to share how a young boy and a punk rocker from Stockton, California, became a #1 Amazon author. So that's the premise, right? So then I gave this. So this is like, it started in Stockton, California. That's my hometown.
Yeah, I know
It
where
was
you're at.
such a safe place, at least there. It was called Someplace Special was the motto for the town, right? And I did things like learn how to ride
Oh, wow, that's
a
bucolic.
tricycle. And yeah, that's me learning how to play Suzuki violin.
Nice.
But then wait, let's see, I'm gonna break my my live stream with this. See, at the young age of 7, my parents got divorced, and I started to love punk rock and skateboarding.
I was 7 too.
Right? Well, oh, really? When your
Yeah,
parents?
we share that.
Wow.
Well, that was
Right?
like the third time they split up, though.
And so, what I told people about this is that this is where I learned to be okay with being different.
Punk rock, yeah. The Ramones.
Yeah. And then I went on to some story about Microsoft. But I got a lot of compliments of like sharing that story. And I think the key for me is that people only see like this outside part, but very few people know everything else that happened beforehand. And
Yeah.
especially if you have something unexpected or something challenging,
Hmm.
right?
Are you into sci-fi?
Oh, I love sci-fi.
Okay, you've read The Three Body Problem or watched the new show that just came out on
I'm
Netflix?
I'm 2 episodes in.
Okay, so I think you've probably seen the scene where the guy is talking to, their alien overlords that are approaching their planet. Spoilers alert. And they're talking back and forth, and he's telling them a story. And in the story, there's a liar, and there's no concept on the other end of what lying and dishonesty is.
Oh.
Lots of spoilers. Watch out, guys. And so this really, foiled their interaction. All of a sudden you've got something entity with no concept of lying and dishonesty hearing a story and then understanding that the story is also a lie.
Oh, I feel like the Matrix now,
So anyway,
right? There's
you
no
can do a lot
spoon.
with a
Right.
story, especially when people aren't expecting, some twist and turn that you're about to deliver and stuff. So meta example there, but that's great storytelling in this sci-fi epic, The Three Body Problem, amazing series of books. And it focuses on storytelling and that it's just an act of dishonesty in some way, a lot of times, unless we're getting really biographical. So, you can really add some flourish, I guess, is the point to really catch people's attention. It doesn't have to be 100% true, but it has to follow that storyline that you're creating, depending on your setting.
And it's a storyline. I mean, some like most movies, you can take a little creative license. I think as a presenter, you have to. What's interesting here is I'm the president-elect for National Speakers Association, and all the chapters recently have had a storytelling competition. It finally got a name. The name is Last Story Standing, Joshua.
Okay, check it
And
out.
so now all the regionals are competing, or no, every chapter is competing in regionals, and 3 people will be selected for nationals in Denver, Colorado. And so I don't know if have you ever gone to like the Moth or other storytelling competitions?
I've listened to it. I did some Toastmasters a while ago.
Yeah.
Toastmasters is a nice way to get introduced to speaking and storytelling. Um, I'm an NPR listener, so I enjoy listening to The Moth. I've considered writing some comedy before in the past. I'm more of an off the cuff guy, to be honest. Sitting
Oh,
down and
the
writing
improv,
it.
right? You got to
Yeah,
you got to do the
yeah.
improv.
Yeah,
Yeah.
time gives me a window for the self-critical nature to start coming out about what I'm creating and stuff. So it can be challenging at times, but
Hmm.
I'm real
Interesting.
goofy and fun at a party.
Do you have some other innate, and sometimes useless skills like we were talking about? Name that tune. I'm a kind of a movie quote guy, right? I
Yeah,
can, yeah.
60s, 70s rock and roll, I'm pretty good at name that tune. Get me
Oh,
into the 80s, I don't know all the names so well, but I'll recognize the tune. But yeah, I mean, music is a big part of my life. I play guitar, I sing, I studied voice in
oh.
college, so
What kind of guitar you play?
I've got a few, but the most recent one is a Gretsch. I kind of spoiled myself and
Ooh.
got a nice one.
Ooh.
So
Is
it's a
that the big
semi-hollow body.
silvery one? Like, is that a hollow body?
It's a semi-hollow body, yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's got the F holes on it, top and
Yeah.
bottom. Like you look
Yeah.
at like a BB King style, but that's a Gibson he plays, I believe.
You you
E30
appreciate this. I have
whatever.
one of the last American-made Fender Stratocasters
Oh yeah.
with active pickups. You need a 9-volt battery to
Mm-hmm.
play it.
Loud, huh?
Oh my goodness. All right, well, let's look at this. You like sci-fi,
I
so
do.
what does Joshua see in the future? Like 10, 20 years from now, what do you want virtual and hybrid meetings to have or be or do?
Yeah, how futurist do I want to be? How optimistic?
It's
The main thing is that what I've also been thinking a lot about is that we're experiencing loneliness just in general as a culture at a much
Yeah.
higher level than we ever have really seen. After certain disasters, after the Holocaust, after, the Civil War and so forth, people were sad, low sentiments, but that changes, it comes back. And right now, especially our young people, our future workforce, 19 to 29-year-olds, they declare that they're feeling lonely at a rate of 27%. That's more than a quarter of young people
Yeah.
entering the workforce feeling lonely, feeling isolated. So my optimistic ask for the virtual event industry is that we work harder to make more meaningful connections in what we're doing. Some
Oh.
of that has to be on all things. It has to be, to some degree that's on us as presenters, as people sharing our stories in our events or helping people to do so. But the technology has a lot of work to do, figuring out, who is that John that's on the screen? I keep seeing his face pop up. Sometimes he says something in the chat. In a Zoom session, I can see your face in a box and I can see your name in the participant list, but I'm going to have to go Google something to find out more about you to see if we've got stuff in common and figure out, do I need to talk to John about this? Or, hey,
Mm.
we've got some same ideas. Is that enough to go on? We
Yeah.
just need to connect more things. So that's why at Event Space, if I can plug just a minute, we're working more on integrating disparate platforms that we all use so
Mm.
that the information can be shared and kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the hub in the wheel. if you're running a virtual event program, you've got how many different applications are you working in? Your ticketing, your registration. It is one, hopefully, not two. And then, you've got your CRM, you've got your video conferencing platform, all that stuff that goes into it, your streaming tools and so forth. And then if you look at John's setup, a lot more. But
Just
bringing those
there's
different
apps.
applications,
Yeah.
all your hardware, but
Yeah.
bringing those different applications together, allowing them to maybe not share information, but present the information so that I can have that one source of truth. Really want to get into presenting actionable data back to the users so that they can prove the ROI that they receive from their virtual events. I think that's a big problem in the industry is we're not demonstrating ROI to our users. Sure, your platform costs this much. They can explain that in their budget requests, but give them enough information to make them say like, hey, look what we did, higher ups. This is important. And that way we can make virtual events more ubiquitous amongst, the organizations, the small businesses, individuals.
Have you been tracking Carmen Simon's research?
Not sure offhand. Lay
You
it
got
on
to
me.
check it out because they had the exact same sales pitch delivered virtually hybrid in person and on a phone.
Okay.
And one of the surprise conclusions came out of there was that the sales presentation delivered over virtual was the most effective,
Hmm.
measured by concentration, eye gaze, right? Impact, right? They had EEGs on people. And so it
Wow.
was surprising because there was less distractions. Like hybrid is definitely, you had two things to look at, right? But even in the in person wasn't the best part because the speaker is separated from the content, the slide.
Okay.
So then in virtual, so take a look at that data and really take a look. But I want to go back to the connection part because I
Yeah.
think you're right that people say they can't network and they can't also make meaningful connections over virtual. And I just tell
Right.
them, you're not trying hard enough. I
Or
have
others aren't trying hard. Maybe they are the only one trying hard enough in their group or whatever.
oh, they're
But
trying hard
yeah,
not to connect, right? They're like,
yeah.
be like, right, I don't want to connect with Joshua, right?
Well, I
Uh,
mean, what a relief was it when we had the pandemic and everybody's like, I'm never turning on my webcam. That's fine. My boss doesn't care. But I think we're way past that. You know,
well, and it was such a
they
detriment
care.
to have all this amazing technology that people like you worked on Zoom and then not use it.
Hmm.
Right? It's like
Saves
having
the
billions of
bandwidth.
dollars, right? Yeah. So I have a karaoke group that meets every Saturday. We've been meeting ever since March of 2020, and it's
Okay.
still going, right?
Online.
And out of the 12 people that are there on a pretty consistent basis, I've now met half of them in person in real life. And
Hmm.
it really showed that you can make these deep connections with virtual, all right, and that you can augment it with in person and not necessarily the other way around.
Yeah. Okay. Shoot me an invite to the karaoke thing. I'm down.
Well, cool. We'd love to have you too. You sing, Josh? You're a musician. You
Yeah.
play guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. I studied voice in college before I realized it'd
Oh,
be more lucrative working in call centers. And then
oh,
look what
well,
happened.
well, fantastic. I got this new feature on my podcast. It's called
Hmm.
the speed round. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and your
Sure.
job is to answer them as quickly as possible.
I'll do
Are
my
you okay
best.
with that, Joshua?
Yeah. I submit.
Here we go. Best sci-fi book.
Ever? Dune.
Ooh, oh, good one. New Dune. Did you see Dune 3 yet?
Dune 2, the movie just came out.
Oh, sorry, Dune 2. Right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
saw it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yes or no?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
It's an experience, it's not an action-packed movie that some sci-fi fans might expect.
Okay,
I think they're doing a good job with it.
best sci-fi movie for you.
Oh man.
Told you, easy questions.
No, this is important, John. I can't just throw something out there. One of my favorite movies of all time, it's fantasy technically, but adjacent to sci-fi is Willow.
Oh,
Remember Willow?
Willow
Oh,
was
that's
a
like my comfort
fantastic.
movie, like that and some buttered toast, and I'm like, oh, feel
We
good.
just rewatched Princess Bride too. I think
Yeah,
that's kind of yeah. Okay,
watch that a lot with kiddo.
okay. Well, here's a lot. Best virtual platform. Haha.
For now, Zoom.
Okay. Most
I mean,
under.
well, what do you mean?
I just
You
told you
mean like a
snap
one-off
judgment.
meeting or webinar? Are we talking like a series or a conference that we're doing? You know,
Now you're
what are your
overthinking it.
factors? Is your budget a concern?
Now you sound like me when I'm consulting with clients. Okay.
Yeah, right. See, I got to
I'm
prove
just
that
going to
I'm
leave
there
your
too.
snap judgment to be the right answer. The
Okay.
most underutilized Zoom feature.
Most under. Can I go back to the one that I missed the most
Yeah.
that they took away?
Yeah.
Remember in the pandemic with the dust up about privacy and everything like that, and Zoom used to have an attentive rating. So it would tell you if Zoom was the most forward application on their computer. That's all it did. It didn't spy on you. It didn't do anything else. It just told you if the application was in front of all
Yeah.
other applications. And so when with all the security dust up, they're like, no, we got to take that out. I'm like, man, I really miss that.
I miss it too.
Yeah, that was clutch.
Okay. Favorite camera.
I use the Brio, Logitech Brio for on my desktop, and
4K. Very
I,
nice.
I put it on, tripods occasionally and catch something else.
Best virtual speaker ever.
I don't know. There's so many out there.
First one that comes to mind.
I'm totally drawing a blank. I'm like swimming through all sorts of different faces of people that I've worked with in my mind.
I can feel you
Yeah,
swimming. You
I'm
know, there's a
passing.
dad.
I'm passing. I'm sorry. I can't pick just one.
There's a dad joke in here. The dad joke is like, what did the fish say when it hit the concrete wall?
Oh, what?
Damn.
Oh, duh. What do you call it? What do you call a fish with no eyes?
Oh, I don't know this one.
Shh.
Okay, vinyl, 8-track, or digital?
I used to DJ vinyl when I first started DJing.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it was hard.
So you're saying vinyl?
Vinyl, yeah.
Okay. Mixtapes, yes or no?
Oh, I used to make them all the time, and I was a DJ.
Best 60s rock?
Oh man, you know what? I've been playing. I like the folk rock lately. I've been listening to Sandy Denny.
Oh my goodness.
So
That
she's
is-
the only woman to, or she's the only other person to sing on a Led Zeppelin song, other than Robert Plant. They
Ooh, I didn't
did
know that.
the Battle of Evermore. She sings on that one if you know that tune, but she's got a couple other tunes you might recognize.
Okay.
And she was in some groups, but Sandy Denny.
2 coins for that.
Okay.
Favorite improver?
Favorite Robin Williams.
Oh, he was one of the best. That's 3
I
coins.
just grew up watching him. Mork and Mindy is like,
I'm rewatching Mork and Mindy right now.
oh, where do you get it?
Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Your most meaningful connection?
Okay, so I used to be a DJ. Which means I also, went to some weird parties. And I think one of the most meaningful connections started as a not really great connection, a friction-filled connection with one of the friends that I met through doing that. But, we're the greatest of long friends now. And, we really understand each other, and we can tell what one another has been through and is going through in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's my buddy Mouse.
There you go. There's a bunch of coins from us. You know, I do a program called Seeds of Virtual Facilitation, and that I tell them that conflict is a core part of engagement.
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
When there's conflict, people like, whoa, they lean in, right?
Some dissonance, yeah.
Yeah,
What is
dissonance. Okay, your best skill not related to anything you do at work.
that? Singing.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
And your last one, what's your wish for 2024?
Oh my gosh, so much. The weight of the world. That
I love that you're
that this
emphatic-
be the last political season that lasts for 5 years.
I somehow don't think that's going to be true, but
I
I love
know.
the wish.
The
I
optimism,
love
yeah.
the wish.
I played D&D. It's a 9th level spell. I might never be able to do it again.
It's kind of like when you roll 2 20s.
Yeah.
That's just one. It's 2.
Does something happen then?
It will. Actually, this is really fun. I got
Depends on the
asked to
spell.
play. I got to ask to play poker with some friends, and I had ace 10, and I got all in, and they comes out the flop, and it goes 10, 10, 10. The odds of all 3 tens coming out in like 3 cards in a row is
Yeah,
like
somebody was stacking that deck, but not very well.
it was stacked for me. It was great. I
They
won
didn't
that
give it
round.
to themselves on
Oh
accident.
my God. Well, Joshua, I really, really appreciate your time with this. Let's ask you this
Yeah.
final question.
I'm ready
You know, if you could
for all the
get people,
points.
if you could get people to remember one thing from this interview, what would be the one thing you would want them to remember?
John, you ask really tough questions. Maybe I just take everything really seriously.
I appreciate that.
I hope people can take away that, there are people like us out there working hard in the virtual events industry to make it a better experience for you. So if you're burnt out on virtual events, stick around. We'll be here for a bit. Things are going to get better. You don't have to put on augmented reality goggles or virtual reality goggles to get, the attention of your audience. We're still out there. So it's not as hard as you think. Just get a good story.
I feel like the Howard
Or
Johnson
somebody
song.
else's story.
the Hojo song, right? Things will only get better. Here, Joshua, I have this message for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Thank you for attending the performance. And a special thanks to all those who helped with the show.
Joshua Jones. Thank you so much, Joshua, for being
John.
here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast.
It was fun. Thanks so much.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Joshua. Well, we've been talking here with Joshua Jones, who used to work at Zoom and has an incredible set of experience. I would love to be in any one of his virtual programs. I would also I haven't played D&D in a while, but I would play with Joshua just because I know it would be fun. Speaking
I'm a
of
great
which,
dungeon master.
yeah, see, I told you, I could only imagine the stuff you would imagine and create inside of there. Meanwhile, if you're here on social media and you've been loving this interview, subscribe, share, like, or comment. Make sure and get your next episode here at engagingvirtualmeetings.online. Subscribe and you'll get an episode every Wednesday. Claim your free ticket here at the Engaging Conference, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, here in Seattle and virtual around the world. engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON for your free ticket. And if you want to be like Joshua, exactly like Joshua, and answer all the hardest questions ever with the most verve you could ever have, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and you too can be like Joshua. Joshua, give me a final word from Nowhere Land.
Oh, just thank you. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Thanks, Joshua!